Should caring for ourselves and each other come at the cost of caring for the planet? The sustainable healthcare movement says no. To learn more about sustainability and circularity in the healthcare industry, we connected with Siva Balakrishnan, General Manager of the GoldSeal business at GE Healthcare. The GoldSeal program involves giving medical products multiple life cycles through refurbishing and remanufacturing. Siva also leads the e-commerce channel for global services at GE Healthcare. He began his career with GE in the corporate audit group after finishing a dual master's at Drexel University in 1994. After his corporate audit experience, Siva was involved in multiple Six Sigma roles and served as operations leader with the GE Capital Trailer Fleet Services in Philadelphia. Siva left GE in 2008 and joined Terex Corporation to run the aftermarket operations for its aerial work platform business. He later joined Gardner Denver to run their aftermarket operations before returning to GE Healthcare in 2016. He is extremely passionate about diversity and inclusion initiatives and has been engaged with the Asian Pacific Allies and Friends group at GE since 1999. Please join me in welcoming Siva.
Let's kind of dive right in. If you could, it'd be lovely if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you interested in the sustainability within healthcare space, and also a little bit about the GoldSeal program that you manage.
Absolutely, Rajiv. Pleasure to meet you. Um, I've been with GE Healthcare for about a little less than 5 years now, and I've been working on the GoldSeal program right from the time I came into GE. I spent about 18 plus years in GE in the GE Capital businesses before coming into GE Healthcare. And I'd also spent about like 7 years outside of GE in a couple of other industries. Aftermarket is very close to me, and lifecycle extension solutions is something that I always look at when you're looking at product and product innovation and product sustainability. And circular economy, we live in a world, Rajiv, where there's constant need for product depending on where you are in the world. And the circular economy not only provides options from a life cycle standpoint to extend the life of the product, but also makes it an affordable option for multiple markets around the world. A classic example is the car industry with the certified pre-owned options, where there's a second life and a third life. So irrespective of the industry, sustainability and circularity is starting to come into the space. And when I came into healthcare, when you look at the global dynamics of health and you look at what's happening around the world, um, the, the population of the world is about 7.8 billion. And when you look at the global spending on healthcare, it's a $9 trillion spend. And this includes everything. It includes hospitals, includes nurses, doctors, you name it. And equipment is one part of it. When you look at the $9 trillion industry and you look at the 7.8 billion people, the OECD spends almost 7 to 7.5 trillion, which is about a billion people. And the rest of the 6.8 billion people spend a trillion and a half. So
Right.
as population bases grow, as the world evolves, as healthcare becomes more and more critical around the world, it's extremely important that we are starting to look at affordable solutions worldwide. And for me, from my standpoint, when I look at healthcare, it's about precision health, it's about affordable and sustainable solutions. And how can we get product to people who need it on a consistent basis? And how do we start looking at life cycle extension mechanisms? So that motivates me a lot personally. And I thought that there's a great space for me to look at and see how we can continue to provide affordable equipment solutions worldwide as we look at life cycle extension solutions for our products.
No, thank you. That's really interesting and really helpful to understand. So just so we have a clear sense of what that all looks together in the context of sustainability and healthcare together, because they're not often sort of talked about together, right? It's sort of they operate in tend to or appear to operate in different worlds, but really sustainable healthcare is not just about healthcare delivery. It's obviously high quality healthcare precision delivery like you talked about, but also broadening it out to the environmental implications, the socioeconomic implications of how healthcare products, diagnostic equipment, medical devices are produced, sort of what their impacts are. So, sustainable healthcare really is looking at it across the value chain, not just medical care, but what the impact is of the medical device industry, etc., all cobbled together in the long term.
Absolutely, Rajiv. So I was looking at a very interesting article about a year back in The Economist. And when you look at it, it's fascinating when you look at the requirement of health as the population bases grow around the world. The Economist article essentially talked about the need for primary care, healthcare, and it talks about doctors in India spending 180 seconds on an average of the patient. Doctors in China spending an average of 90 seconds with a patient with a simple question that they ask, what's wrong with you? Single question. And the amount of the diagnosis and the accuracy of the diagnosis is anywhere between 26 and 30%, depending on the market. So when you look at that, when you look at the context of the need for precision healthcare, because doctors, especially with the growing population bases around the world, doctors and hospital staff and healthcare workers is very scarce. And you're looking at seeing what's the best way to optimize the person in front of the patient by providing them solutions and equipment solutions. So when you look at the pathways, there are two primary pathways when you're looking at precision care. So there's a pathology pathway and a radiology pathway and imaging solutions. So how do you make sure that it gets integrated from a data standpoint, or from an analytic standpoint, as you look at all the information that's being collected worldwide, to be able to provide a precision solution to the doctor based on the amount of time that he has in front of the patient becomes extremely critical as we go forward. And to your point, sustainable care is also, how do you make sure that you look at the entire supply chain, but also look at what is the best way you can equip the person who is the physician or the person who is the primary healthcare worker in front of the patient, so that you can optimize their time while making sure that you can get much more accurate diagnosis out to the patient, so that you can provide affordable and accurate care to the patient at that point in time.
Right. Yeah, I think in that vein of looking at it from the supply chain, the material use, that kind of thing, we've certainly seen some of that play out during the last year. I mean, the pandemic certainly counts as perhaps an anomaly in terms of the kind of event it has been, where there's been a significant need of resources in a very short period of time, and there are trade-offs to be made, especially in terms of things like masks ending up in waste streams and that kind of thing, and those are not necessarily recoverable from a material standpoint. But looking at it from the standpoint of you mentioned briefly things like product life extension. There's the refurbishment or the remanufacturing of products is one such modality. Could you tell us a little bit about the GE GoldSeal program and what that how it fits into this broader vision of sustainable healthcare and the circularity within the supply chain?
Yeah, absolutely. So the GoldSeal program has been operational for about 20 plus years now, Rajiv. So as the markets start understanding the rate of evolution of technology is fairly quick and rapid at this point in time. So with the integration of technology platforms to the imaging infrastructure is making the patient images, the amount of scans that you can get, the accuracy of the scans and the information that you're getting more and more refined and accurate on a daily basis. And then you also are collecting a lot of information in the background to see what's the best way you can look at pattern analysis to see what's the best way to get precision care. So about 20 plus years back, as the evolution started, the technology evolution started in the space, there is the rate of product development and the speed of product development and the enhancements of products was starting to come out at a fairly rapid pace. So our primary supply chain, when you look at the GoldSeal program, we are looking at what I would call one generation removed product that has been in the market with its first use completed, that is coming back as the customer desires to upgrade that to the next evolution of the platform. So we go through a fairly rigorous and stringent refurbishment and remanufacturing process, essentially bringing the product up to current spec as we go through the GoldSeal refurbishment and remanufacturing programs, so that we can have the product that's one generation removed with the latest updates on or upgrades on software that is made available to customers at a lower price point that will make it more affordable for markets, not only within the developed markets, because we do sell a lot of product within the developed markets into tier 3 and tier 4 customer accounts, but also now we are starting to expand that into the affordable solutions to the developing markets. And now one of the most interesting dynamics, there are two things that really catch my attention, Rajiv. So when you look at the healthy adult life expectancy rates, so you look at 1900 versus 2100. So the historic look at the past to projection of the future, the average healthy adult life expectancy in 1900 was 41 years. 41.
Wow.
The expectation, as we forecast, the healthcare and the evolution of healthcare, and as we look at seeing what's the best way to get precision solutions and more care to the person that's around the world, the healthy adult life expectancy is expected to go to 87 by 2100.
Right.
If the average is 87, you're looking at a normal distribution, and you're looking at normal distributions that can be anywhere from 75 to 115. Right. So I tell people that some of us who are on calls may live up to 100, 110, 120. So just think about what's happening and how do you make sure that irrespective of the market. So the fastest growing population bases are Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So you think about Ethiopia. So you think about these markets and you think about the need for care as healthy adult life expectancy improves, and how to get that affordable solution, and the imaging pathways need to be available in these markets, and GoldSeal programs, affordable equipment programs, depending on regulation, is made available to these markets so that doctors in these markets can use the information that the imaging equipment is providing to be able to get more accurate diagnosis for the patients and be able to provide them with more persistent solutions. So the GoldSeal program evolved like this. It's we sell product worldwide. So we sell product as much in developed markets as in developing markets, and it's continuing to grow on a consistent basis. And the pride that we take in, Rajiv, is we have a very rigorous program. So just like any certified pre-owned product, irrespective of the industry, there are rigorous checks. It comes back into our factory from our customers after our customers have traded the product back to us. It goes through a inspection, testing. We replace the consumables. We do significant amount of testing on the equipment in order to ensure that it meets the requirements from a customer standpoint before sending the product out to the market. And we take a lot of pride in doing what we do, because there are two elements to it. So there's a purpose, and then there is a redeployment or life cycle extension mechanism on the product. And the purpose for us is sustainable and affordable healthcare to people in need around the world.
Yep. No, that's good. Just to clarify, the products that are part of the GoldSeal program, and I don't have a sort of medical background, so I might get this wrong, and bear with me. It's mostly medical imaging or diagnostic imaging equipment, or is it a suite of product categories?
So it's a it's a diagnostic imaging equipment. So we sell, we refurbish and remanufacture MRs, magnetic resonance equipment, computer tomography or CT equipment, X-ray machines. We also do mammography machines and also sell product, like ultrasound product, refurbish and remanufacture ultrasound product. So it's a wide range of product that we have available. And one of the things, Rajiv, is like, no, we are extensively focused on not only looking at the product availability, but also ensuring and understanding the regulation in multiple markets around the world. So that we can make sure that we're following the regulation, educating the governments on what the programs that we have in terms of refurbishment and remanufacturing, so that they understand the depth to which we go through the quality programs in order to ensure that the product is brought back up to the latest spec in terms of requirements, but also we understand the requirements, the local requirements and the local regulatory requirements. The regulation itself is changing a lot, Rajiv. So when you look at it in 2005, like I'm just going to give you 2 time points, there were about 63 countries that was regulating equipment and healthcare equipment coming into into their market. Now that number has gone up to about 120 countries. So there's a continuing as like countries look at healthcare, as countries look at seeing what's the best way to provide affordable healthcare solutions to its citizens and its people, their citizens worldwide. They're looking at seeing what is available worldwide and ensuring that while they are ensuring that there is product quality product brought into the country, they're also being careful about the type of product that gets into the country because they need to know that there are strong programs and ensuring that there's not used product that is not necessarily qualified and remanufactured or refurbished showing up in the country that may impact the ability to have strong healthcare programs within the country.
That's so interesting, and it's kind of in some ways heartening to see, assuming that that's the indicator that the expansion of the regulation across more countries is an indicator that there is greater interest in not just making healthcare more affordable and accessible, but also looking at it from the standpoint of sustainable deployment from a resource utilization perspective. One question that I think it's worth expanding on a little bit is the terminology, the refurbishing versus remanufacturing, and based on the ANSI definition of remanufacturing, it has a very specific meaning, and refurbishing can be understood as being not as rigorous as remanufacturing. So I guess it would be helpful if you could clarify in whether in the program itself you're using those terms interchangeably, or whether there is a distinction, and if there is a distinction, are there different classes of products that you're selling as a result?
Yeah, so there is refurbished as well as remanufactured products. So normally, when we pull it into a manufacturing line and go through the process of essentially bringing it up to the latest standards, we go into the remanufacturing processes of the product. But depending on the market and depending on the vintage of the equipment, Rajiv, there can be also refurbished product, right? But the inspection procedures, the test procedures are fairly rigorous, irrespective of whether it's refurbished or remanufactured. Remanufactured obviously has a stronger requirement criteria from a remanufacturing standpoint, but there is a need to ensure that there is quality as well as strong inspection routines on refurbished equipment as well, so that you can ensure that the quality of the product that's coming out in terms of image quality, in terms of the output on data, in terms of what's happening inside the patient is accurately defined, so that you know that the ability to provide accurate diagnosis becomes more and more enhanced at the point of delivery to the customer, and the customer meaning the physician and the customer meaning the patient. So we do both, but we take pride in our inspection and our quality routines to ensure that the product is robust and stringent guidelines are followed before putting the product back into the market.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful to know. And looking at it a little bit from a maybe more business metrics perspective, have you, to the extent that you can share, have you seen that as a result of undertaking refurbishing and remanufacturing, a rigorous process which now gives products multiple lives, but typically sell at a lower cost? As a result of that, have you seen greater quote unquote market penetration, which is to say now products are within reach, where a brand new product might not have been in some cases?
Yeah, so there is a constant need for product depending on the market that you're looking at, and also depending on the profile of what the customer is looking for in terms of output requirements from the product.
Yeah.
So this is a constantly expanding portfolio, Rajiv. So there is a need for product that is refurbished and remanufactured, which is able to produce the latest, probably a generation removed in terms of output, but able to provide a lot more robust requirement at a specific market that is not necessarily having that exposure to the product at this point in time. So there's a constant need for the product, and we are constantly seeing what's the best way to get more of these solutions into the hands of customers worldwide. The thing with the remanufactured portfolio is when you look at the sustainability and the circularity and the life cycle extension, we are looking at product customers as the quality levels grow, customers are keeping the products longer. And also, when the product comes back, there's more robust programs that go into place to see what's the best way to get the product back into the market through latest updates on software and on the consumables. So there is constant need for the product worldwide, and there are a lot of customers also starting to look at sustainability solutions. So this is a global phenomenon with ESG, the environmental, social, and governance framework, and circularity is becoming a big conversation. So customers are looking at not only products that can provide life cycle extension solutions within their existing fleet of products that they manage, but also looking at products where they can bring in products that has a life cycle extension element to it that is contributing to the greater good of the environment, social, and governance factors across the world. So it's a growing portfolio, and we are constantly seeing what's the best way to look at our life cycle to ensure that we are able to pull in the sustainability and the circularity factor into it. And as I told you, Rajiv, the world population base I told you was 7.8 billion today. At the current projected rate, it's going to be 9.6 billion in 2050. So when you look at the normal, now the range of the projection is anywhere from 9 billion to 13 billion, with the middle being around 9.6, 9.8 billion. So if you're looking at that extension, the need is there. The need continues to evolve, and as markets get more and more focused on healthcare for its citizens, as governments get more focused on healthcare for the citizens, like the Ayushman Bharat scheme as an example, it is going to become more and more critical for them to look at good product, but affordable product that is available for its citizens in their countries that can get precision health. Because as I told you, 30% diagnosis right with one single question, what's wrong with you, is not going to help the doctor be able to diagnose a patient, because they don't have the precision solutions in their fingertips to be able to get the diagnosis done fast. So time is of huge essence in the healthcare industry, Rajiv, and the more we can get more focused on providing those precision solutions to physicians, the more better it's for the doctor to get the diagnosis right, but more better for us as patients to have the ability to be able to kind of address an issue proactively rather than reactively.
Yep, absolutely. I have one follow-up question that when you mentioned the development of solutions, sustainability oriented, circular economy oriented, medical solutions to your customers. And then I want to end on your thoughts on what sustainable healthcare could look like for developing nations and the emergence of a legitimate medical product industry where refurbishing and remanufacturing is done well and credibly, and what that might take. But the follow-up question was, are you seeing an evolution, whether within GE or broadly within the medical device industry, in the business model itself? So moving towards, say, a product as a service type model where you're not selling the product, you still own it, but you're providing it for use, and therefore you have control over keeping track of how it's doing in terms of longevity, and then recovery, refurbish, remanufacture arguably becomes simpler. Just curious if that's a movement or any indications there that you're seeing.
Yeah, there's consistent exploration of ability to deliver value-based solutions to customers at any point in time, especially the evolution of technology, Rajiv. So we are evolving at a fairly rapid pace worldwide. So you look at even the vaccine development as an example associated with COVID. 18-month timelines have been cut to 8 and 9 months, and we are already starting to see a fairly significant distribution of vaccines around the world on the pandemic. So you can see that the evolution of technology is very rapid, and as you look at these rapidly evolving models, the ability to continuously improve your product solutions to your customers becomes more and more critical.
Yep.
So as we think about this rapid rate of evolution, the ability to look at the models, the subscription models that you talked about, is becoming something that is being explored by pretty much every industry around the world. More so from the perspective of seeing what's the best way to get up-to-date solutions to customers and have rapidly evolving solutions be available to customers. And as I talked about it, I was speaking to a friend of mine who is in a diagnostic, in vitro diagnostics company, and you look at this, the COVID testing. So a COVID machine, like a test machine, can produce 2,200 results in an hour, right? And if you're looking at an install base of 500 machines producing 2,200 tests an hour for about 14 hours a day, you're looking at 9 billion results.
Right.
Right. So you have data being collected. I somewhere I heard that an average hospital in the US collects about 50 petabytes of data.
Wow.
So with the evolution of data, the ability to be able to look at pattern analysis, the ability to consistently improve your solutions and be able to get precision care. So precision care. If that's going to be a focus to have affordable precision care solutions worldwide, you're going to be looking at solutions where you can continuously upskill the customer to be able to get that precision output in their hands on a quicker basis. And subscription models is going to continue evolving. So, and we are exploring that, pretty much everybody is exploring that to see what's the best way we can get faster solutions to our customers. So I would look at it as how do we get faster solutions, and how do we continuously keep that database solutions available to our customers through multiple models of delivery.
Yep.
So that's something that we continue to explore, Rajiv. So I'm sure if you read the investor reports of any of the companies around the world, irrespective of the industry, with data evolving at a rapid pace, it's going to happen continuously, irrespective of the industry, because data is where now the world is going towards, right? So it's about using information that you collect.
No, this is great. No, this is so helpful for me to understand, and I'm sure for the folks that are listening as well. I want to be mindful of time here. So, as sort of closing out, sort of bringing it all together from the standpoint of, well, what now? What can individuals or industries or policymakers think about, and where, what might be some of those factors that can support the evolution of the medical industry or sustainable healthcare, medical device remanufacturing in emerging and developing countries like India. In your vast experience, are there any, top 2 or 3 pieces that are critical from the standpoint of building a strong foundation so that going forward, sustainable healthcare broadly, certainly precision care, as you mentioned several times, as well as the broader issue of sustainability in the context of medical products, where refurbishing and remanufacturing come into the picture. Where should people not necessarily start, but if you want to head in that direction, what are important things to keep in mind? In
Yeah,
general?
so absolutely, Rajiv. So there's an article that I read in Bloomberg Business Week that essentially comes to my mind. So this is an article about Narayana hospitals in India, in Bangalore, India. And the article was essentially saying that the world's cheapest hospital has to get cheaper. That's what the title of the article. It's about a couple of years old now, and it talks about the cost of care in a developing market versus a developed market, and they were comparing and contrasting the need for reusability solutions and the need to kind of make care more affordable and cheaper in a developing market. So replace India with China, replace India with Africa, the 54 countries in Africa. Affordable, because that's the most critical factor. So I'll give you one data point from that article. So pulmonary thromboendarterectomy costs about $200,000 in the US. It costs about $10,000 in India. It's 20 times more expensive in a developed market versus a developing market. An endoscopy costs $14 in India, and MR, depending on where you are in India, costs about $30 to $40 with a private operator in India, while it can cost 10 to 15 times higher in a developed market. So affordable solutions and precision solutions is going to be the requirement go forward. As I told you, the healthy adult life expectancy has doubled in the last 200 years. So just think about it for a second. A 46-year average growth over 200 years. So we have essentially expanded life expectancy from 41 to 87 over a 200-year time period. So 46 years on an average, we have expanded through solutions that we offer in terms of intervention from a medical standpoint. And the more you can make it affordable, the more you can provide precision care to your patients, the more the need is going to be prevalent irrespective of where it is in the world. So when as I said, purpose is critical, and when we look at purpose, providing affordable solutions is something that's near and dear to me, near and dear to our company, and the more we can see what's the best way to get product into places, which requires that in order to drive affordable solutions. That's a huge win for us, because it's something that all of us know. It's personal, as simple as that. It's personal. Care is personal, and the pandemic has proved it again that we cannot afford to take our eyes off the need to provide personal as well as precision solutions to people. And the UN SDGs, human health and well-being, is number 3 out of the 17 SDGs. So affordable precision healthcare is something that's personal, and it's a purpose, and we take a lot of pride in doing what we do to see what's the best way to provide that affordable solution worldwide to our customers.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, this has been excellent. Very quickly, where can folks go to learn more about sustainable healthcare?
So with GE, the GoldSeal program is in the www.ge.com within the healthcare sites. And the sustainable healthcare is something that's continuously evolving and precision healthcare is continuously evolving, irrespective of this in the drug company space, drug development, or in vitro diagnostics, or just diagnostic imaging. So sustainable, there's a lot of material on the websites, Raji, but GoldSeal itself would be available in the www.ge.com.
Perfect. Okay? Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's early in the morning for you in Wisconsin, but your time is very much appreciated. There's so much potential here. Certainly a lot of work to be done, but I think a very exciting, in some ways, opportunity for the healthcare industry to embrace the sustainability paradigm, to look at circular economy practices from the standpoint of, like you mentioned, the key issues of affordability, high quality, and precision. So thank you for taking the time, Siva, and hopefully we'll have you back again at some point in the future.
Thanks for the opportunity, Rajiv. Really enjoyed the conversation, and I really look forward to continuing the conversation and providing precision, affordable healthcare solutions to people worldwide as we grow and expand this space.